I lied about graduating college for 7 years, and now my family knows it's worse than I imagined. Hey, Reddit. I've been sitting here staring at my screen for the last hour, trying to figure out how to say this. I never imagined I'd be the one writing one of these posts, but here I am. I guess I'll just start with the basics. I'm Luke, 30 years old, and I've been keeping a huge secret from my family for the past 7 years. It's not the kind of thing you can easily explain or brush under the rug, and now that it's out, I feel like my whole world is falling apart. I need to know if anyone else out there has ever been in a situation like this, or if I'm just as screwed up as I feel right now. Here's the thing. For the last 7 years, I've been pretending I graduated from college when I never actually did. I was supposed to graduate from a big state university with a degree in business. My parents were so proud of me, and I didn't want to let them down. They've always been hardworking, salt of the earth people. My dad owns a small hardware store, and my mom's a retired nurse. They put so much pressure on me to succeed, but in a good way, you know? They just wanted better for me than what they had. But my senior year, everything fell apart. I failed two major classes, and instead of buckling down to retake them, I just checked out. I was burned out, depressed, and honestly, partying way too much. I stopped going to classes altogether. When graduation came around, I didn't know how to tell my family. My parents had already booked flights and hotel rooms for the ceremony. My mom had even bought me a suit. I was panicking and embarrassed, so I lied. I told them I graduated. It wasn't supposed to be a long-term lie. I figured I'd buy myself some time to retake the classes quietly and finish the degree, but one semester turned into two, and then I just gave up. I started working odd jobs, saving money, and pretending I was figuring out my career. My family never questioned it. They were proud of me. They bragged to their friends about my degree and my bright future in business. Every time they did, I felt this crushing guilt, but I couldn't bring myself to admit the truth. Fast forward to a month ago. My younger sister, Katie, got engaged. She's 26, the golden child, and a genuinely amazing person. As part of the wedding planning, she wanted to have a family dinner to celebrate her fiancé getting his MBA. At the dinner, everyone was talking about careers and education. My dad turned to me and said, "Luke, you should give Ryan some tips on the business world. After all, you've got that degree in real-world experience." My stomach dropped. Katie gave me a weird look, but I brushed it off and mumbled something vague. A week later, she called me out of the blue. "Hey, Luke," she said. "I don't want to sound rude, but did you actually graduate?" I panicked and denied it at first, but she wouldn't let it go. She knew something was up. Finally, I broke down and told her the truth. I begged her not to tell mom and dad. She promised she wouldn't. But the next day, my mom called me in tears. Now, my parents know everything. My dad won't even talk to me. My mom keeps calling, asking why I didn't trust them enough to tell the truth. Katie says she didn't mean to spill the beans, but I can tell she feels guilty. I've never felt so ashamed in my life. I hurt everyone I care about, all because I was too scared to admit I failed. I don't even know where to start repairing the damage. My parents think I'm a fraud. My sister's wedding is coming up, and I feel like the black sheep in the family now. Part of me wants to go back and actually finish the degree. But is it even worth it at this point? I feel like I've ruined everything, and I don't know if my family will ever forgive me. Anyway, that's my story. If you've read this far, thanks for listening. I don't know if I deserve advice, but if you've got any, I'm all ears. Update, I wish I didn't have to write. If you haven't seen my original post, here's a quick recap. I'm Luke, 30, and for the past 7 years, I've been lying to my family about graduating college. I was supposed to get a business degree, but I never finished. Instead of telling my family the truth, I faked graduating, and they didn't find out until recently when my younger sister confronted me. After that, everything fell apart. My parents found out, my dad stopped talking to me, and I've been trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. I thought maybe time would heal things, but if anything, it's only gotten worse. After the initial blow up, my mom tried to act like everything was okay, but I could tell she was heartbroken. She kept calling me and asking, "Why didn't you just tell us? Do you know how much we sacrificed for you?" I didn't have a good answer. Every time she brought it up, I felt like I was drowning in guilt. I'd get defensive, trying to explain that I didn't mean for the lie to go on so long, but that just made things worse. My dad, meanwhile, has been completely silent. He won't take my calls or respond to my texts. My mom says he's processing, but I know what that really means. He's furious with me. And then there's my sister, Katie. She's barely spoken to me since this all went down. The only thing she said was, "I'm not mad, Luke, I'm just disappointed." Honestly, I'd rather she scream at me. A week after my mom found out, I decided to visit my parents' house to try and talk things out in person. I thought maybe if I explained myself face to face, they'd see how sorry I was. When I showed up, my dad didn't even let me inside. He opened the door, looked at me, and said, "There's nothing to talk about." Then he shut the door in my face. I stood there on the porch for what felt like forever, hoping he'd come back, but he didn't. Eventually, my mom came out. She hugged me, but it felt different, like she was hugging a stranger. "Give him time," she said, but I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't sure if time would actually fix this. If things weren't bad enough, Katie's wedding was last weekend. I almost didn't go. I felt like I'd ruined enough of my family's happiness, but my mom insisted. "You're her brother," she said. "She wants you there." So I went, and it was one of the most uncomfortable days of my life. My dad barely acknowledged me. When we took family photos, he made a point of standing as far away from me as possible. Katie was polite but distant, like I was just some random guest. The worst part was during the reception when her husband's family kept talking about how proud they were of his MBA and bright future. My mom tried to include me in conversations, but it just felt forced. At one point, she said, "Luke's figuring things out too," but everyone just kind of nodded awkwardly. I spent most of the night nursing a drink in the corner, wondering if I should have just stayed home. After the wedding, I tried one last time to talk to my dad. I caught him outside as he was loading chairs into a truck. "Dad, please," I said. "I know I messed up, but I want to fix this. I'll go back to school. I'll get the degree. Whatever it takes. Just tell me how to make this right." He stopped what he was doing and looked at me. For a second, I thought he might finally say something, but all he said was, "Some things can't be fixed, Luke." Then he got in the truck and drove away. It's been a week since the wedding, and I feel more lost than ever. My dad still won't talk to me. My sister's moved on with her new life, and my mom keeps acting like everything's fine, even though I can tell she's just pretending. I've been thinking about going back to school, but part of me wonders if it even matters anymore. Even if I get the degree, it won't undo the years of lying. It won't change the way my family looks at me now. I keep asking myself why I let this happen, why I didn't just tell the truth from the start, but it's too late for that now. I don't know if things will ever go back to the way they were. Maybe they won't. Maybe I don't deserve for them to. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I wish I had a happier update. But this is the reality of what happens when you lie to the people who trust you the most. If anyone's been through something like this, I'd love to hear how you handled it, because right now, I feel like I'm at the end of my rope.